Hello, everyone, wherever you are, and we thank you so much for tuning in to a very special edition of Miami Women's Basketball here on Red Hawk Radio. My name is Andrew Relvas, and I will be giving you all the pregame information about tonight's matchup between the Miami RedHawks and the Western Kentucky Lady Toppers in a matinee women's basketball matchup. Now, between these two teams overall, Western Kentucky has won all 6 matchups, 0-6 for Miami. The last matchup was last year, where Western Kentucky won 91-55 at their home court on November 21st, so pretty much a year ago, 3 days to this date. And that was an exciting one for Western Kentucky. It was a fun one for the Lady Toppers, but to give you a little stat breakdown from the last game, Ivy Wolf had 17 points, and Katie Rashawson, one of the few players who were on this Miami team from last year, she scored in double figures, almost had a double-double with 11 points and 9 rebounds. And for the Western Kentucky Lady Toppers, it was Aliyah Pitts who had 19 points, 5 rebounds. Macy Blevins, 14 points and 2 rebounds. It's also worth noting that 6 Lady Toppers were in double figures. They scored double-digit points, and they were just all over the ball in that one. It was a tough one for the RedHawks, but we'll see if they can shake off the rest here and take down the Lady Toppers for the first time in program history. The last time these two teams met up here in Oxford, Miami lost 60-58 in a very close game in 2021. It was tight, and it could very well be that way today, but we shall see how this RedHawks group rebounds after dropping the past 2 games. Overall, the Miami RedHawks, they come to this game with a record of 0-2 overall. They played 2 games on the road. First game at Vermont, they lost 60-48. That was a tough one for Miami. They never really led in that game. They always were trailing against the Catamounts at Vermont, and they were just kind of struggling. But it was the first game. You can kind of disregard that because it's a long season. You know, these players got a lot left on the schedule, but some players to look out for, especially in that first one. It was Jada Scott and Jaden Scott. They both scored double-digit points, and the transfers from Cincinnati, they're going to be very crucial for this Miami RedHawks group throughout the year, and we shall see how they do so. The second game, they fell to UL Monroe 78-62 a few days ago. Jaden Scott had 23 points in that one, 9 rebounds. She was all over the court in that one. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to will the RedHawks to win, but still, she played very well in that one. And Hennessy Lou Brown had 5 assists. She's going to be a big player for the RedHawks this year. One thing worth noting, the RedHawks have struggled with turnovers. They've had back-to-back games with 12 turnovers. They have to clean that one up if they want to win this one here at home. And for the Western Kentucky Lady Toppers, they come to this game with a record of 3-1 overall, 1-1 on the road, 2-0 at home, trying to get their second road win of the year. Past 2 games for the Lady Toppers, a win versus Cornell, 62-56. That was a game where Ingram had 15 points, Pape had 10 rebounds, Kilgo 4 assists, 3 players in double figures. The Lady Toppers were all over the Cornell Big Red, and they somehow won that game with 27 turnovers. I'll say that again, 27 turnovers for the Lady Toppers in that one. But, you know, they're a deep team. They have a lot of players who can play in some big minutes, and I guess that 27 turnover stat is kind of an anomaly here for Western Kentucky, 3-1 overall. The last game they played at Vanderbilt, they lost 77-74, a very close one in the SEC. Meade had 20 points and 6 assists. Hayes had 19 points. Pitts, 5 rebounds. But it's really the turnovers in that one as well. 18 turnovers for the Lady Toppers. They got to clean up the basketball, and I'm sure that's what head coach Collins is preaching to this group today here in Millett Hall. Now, overall, the last year for the Miami RedHawks, it was a disappointing one. They finished 12-19 overall in a very difficult Mid-American Conference, 7-1 in the MAC. They missed the conference tournament. They were tied for 7th in the conference out of 11 teams. And it was overall the best year with Deanna Hendricks, but she is out after 4 years, which it was a really tough time for her in the Mid-American Conference. She struggled in the MAC. That's a difficult conference to win in. And after 4 years she is out. But here's the new coach for the Miami RedHawks. It is Glenn Box in his first year with Miami. He's coached at Indiana from 2016 to 2023. He's coached since 2005, so plenty of coaching experience at the Division I level at Indiana as well. They made the NCAA tournament 4 years with Box on staff. I'm sure that's why he was an intriguing option to hire. And we'll see. You know, it's going to be a challenge here to turn this group around. They lost a ton of talent from last year's group. Only 5 returners from the 13 players on the last year's roster. And this is a group with a good amount of freshmen as well. 4 freshmen, 1 sophomore, 4 juniors, and 4 seniors. So definitely more upperclassmen talent-wise. But, you know, you lose some crucial players. You lose Ivy Wolf, you lose Maddie Cluse, and you lose Peyton Scott, 3 of your top scorers, along with a big rebounder and Amani Freeman. That's just pretty much your starting 4, your big 4, I should say. And it's a new era in Miami, so we'll see if the RedHawks can get their first win of the year on the new calendar. For the Western Kentucky Lady Toppers, last year they finished 19-14 overall, 14-6 in Conference USA action, second in the conference, and they made the conference championship game but fell to Middle Tennessee State 82-70. And this is a group that's very well coached by Greg Collins, 6th year with Western Kentucky, 4 winning seasons out of 6 at WKU. Searching for win number 4 here. He almost had the 4th against Vanderbilt, but they just got to clean up those turnovers. And this is a group that's returning 6 players from last year's squad. And this is going to be a very difficult team to limit. 4 seniors on the roster, and all those are big contributors to the Lady Toppers this season. But we'll see. You know, this is very likely going to be an entertaining matchup between the RedHawks and the Lady Toppers. We'll take a break for the scoreboard segment. My name is Andrew Relvas. So glad you could be here with us in a very early matchup between the RedHawks and the Lady Toppers. Stay tuned. You're listening to Miami Women's Basketball here on Red Hawk Radio. Welcome back to the Red Hawk Radio pregame show for Miami Women's Hoops. Here live from Millett Hall at about 12:39 Eastern Time for all you West Coast listeners out there. I'll give you the scoreboard breakdown for the Mid-American Conference slate, a game that's already occurring right now. Ball State hosting Northern Iowa. The Cardinals up 66-56, 3 minutes and 31 left to go in the fourth quarter. That one should be entertaining down the stretch for the Cardinals. Another game that's going to be starting soon. Central Michigan on the road at Cleveland State. That game will tip off at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Central Michigan, the Chippewas, trying to get their second win of the year. We'll see if they can do so in a few hours. Bowling Green on the road at Xavier, the Musketeers versus the Falcons. Bowling Green trying to get win number 2 on the year, and the Xavier Musketeers trying to get win number 1. They're currently 0-3, trying to turn things around there in Cincinnati. That'll be a 2 o'clock start for everyone out there. The final one, SIUE versus Eastern Michigan. The Eagles hosting them, trying to pick up their first win of the year. That game will be a 3:30 start on the Mid-American Conference slate. Now we'll look at the top 25 matchups in the women's division. Number 23 ranked Ole Miss Rebels currently trailing Howard 24-21. 3 minutes and 35 seconds left to go in the second quarter. That game should pick up more often after the second quarter. Illinois at Notre Dame. 16 ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish, currently 2-1 on the year, trying to take down a Big Ten opponent in Illinois. That'll be a 1 o'clock start. We'll tip off right at our time. 1 o'clock start prematurely. Elon at Northern Carolina. 17 ranked Tar Heels trying to improve to 4-0 on the year. That'll be a 3 o'clock start on the ACC network. We'll see how this Tar Heel group can continue to stay strong in a very tough ACC. We go to the Pac-12. The number 5 ranked Colorado Buffaloes on the road at SMU. Both sides 3-0, the Mustangs and the Buffaloes. That game will begin at 9 o'clock tonight, so we won't have that for you, but still, it's going to be a good one on ESPN Plus. And the final one, Utah at Alaska Anchorage. Apologize for that. The Great Alaska Shootout. Number 4 ranked Utah Utes. Phenomenal year last year in the NCAA tournament. We'll see how they take down the Alaska Anchorage in that one. Should be a fun one at 11:30 Eastern Time, so it'll be a late one on the East Coast. But plenty of fun across the nation in women's hoops. And with that, that'll do it for the scoreboard segment. I'll be back in a few minutes for some key breakdowns and how the RedHawks can take down the Lady Toppers. You're listening to Miami Women's Basketball here on Red Hawk Radio. My name is Andrew Relvas. So glad you could be here with us. Welcome back to the Red Hawk Radio pregame show. My name is Andrew Relvas. Today, I'll be giving you the keys to the games. How can the Red Hawks take down the Lady Toppers in Millett Hall? Well, first of all, it's worth noting that the Lady Toppers, they do turn the ball over a ton. They currently are averaging 17.5 turnovers a game. Last game, they really struggled with holding on to the basketball. They had 18 turnovers in a loss at Vanderbilt. And the game before versus Cornell, a win, 62-56. They had 27 turnovers. It's really difficult to win games with double-digit turnovers, but to win it with almost 30 turnovers is just bizarre. And, you know, they somehow took down the Big Red out there. So the RedHawks, they have to be ready to force a ton of turnovers. This is a very turnover-prone team, like I just mentioned. And you know, they're also very well coached. Greg Collins, he's got a great system over there at Western Kentucky. The RedHawks have to make sure that they can take down these very two tough guards, Akeisha Hayes and Alexis Mead. Both those scores over in double digits. Hayes has 16.5 points a game averaging, along with Alexis Mead, 12 points. They're both shooting phenomenally. Apologize for that. 44% from the floor for Hayes and 51% for Mead. And both these two players are phenomenal from the free throw line. 94% for Hayes and 90% for Mead. Got to be careful of those two guards. They're going to be very difficult to stop. And we'll see how the RedHawks can do so here in Millett Hall. And for on the opposite side for Miami offensively, you got to feed Jaden Scott and Jada Scott the ball. Both those two players have been playing really well for the RedHawks. You know, you lose your first two games at Vermont and at UL Monroe, but you come back here. You get back here at home. Try and get some home cooking here from the home crowd as more students start to file in here in Millett Hall. But, you know, playing on the road is very tough in college athletics, regardless of the sport. The first game, they really hung with the Catamounts up until the very end. And same with UL Monroe. Two tough games to drop, but, you know, we'll see. This is going to be the home debut of Glenn Box's group for the Miami women's basketball team. It'll be interesting to see how these Hawks kind of respond to the home environment, but you can be as sure as to follow Jaden Scott and Jada Scott. Both those two players are going to be huge for the RedHawks this year, the Cincinnati transfers. I expect big days from both of them. One player to also look out for, it is Hennessy Lou Brown. She's going to be a crucial player for this Miami RedHawks group. She's come up big in the previous games for Miami. She had a bunch of rebounds in the game at UL Monroe, 5 assists as well. She's going to be a big kind of player who's going to dish out the ball to the Scots. And, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how this group kind of responds to the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. RedHawks have not beaten the Lady Toppers in the past 6 matchups, 0-6 overall. And the last time the RedHawks were home here facing Western Kentucky, a loss 60-58. So we could very well see a similar kind of trend happen here in Millett Hall. You know, anything can happen in college sports any given Saturday, I should say, for this Miami women's group. And it'll be very interesting how Glenn Box's group attacks the Lady Toppers. Well, that's going to do it here from Millett Hall. My name is Andrew Rose on the Red Hawk Radio pregame show. So glad you could be here with us. And I will turn it over to Luke and Will for the rest of the game here in Millett Hall. So glad you could be here with us. Let's go Red Hawks. I'll see you at the half.
From high above the floor here at Millett Hall in Oxford, Ohio, the Glenn Box era begins with the Miami women's basketball team's home opener as the RedHawks take on the Lady Toppers from Western Kentucky, along one of the premier mid-major teams in the entire nation in women's hoops. Luke West, Poley, and Will Summers with you here on this Saturday afternoon from Millett Hall. And Will, new head coach, a lot of new faces for this Miami team. They've gotten off to an 0-2 start, but think things are still starting to fall into place for Glenn Box and his group right now, and this Miami RedHawks team, a very young team, and it's going to be a tough test for the RedHawks facing off against a Western Kentucky team that's off to a great start this season at 3-1.
Well, it really feels like deja vu from last night from the men's team against Coppin State, where we mentioned the 4 freshmen that really played a big role, and you mentioned the young team, and it's a young program really in the first game of the Glenn Box era, and it's going to be an interesting first home game and hopefully an interesting first win.
Glenn Box, like Will mentioned, looking for his first win as a Division I head coach. He's been a head coach at the JUCO level before on the women's side and was brought into Miami after being the architect of an Indiana defense. He was an assistant coach with the Hoosiers that was considered one of the best in the nation over the past few years. Starting lineups first for the RedHawks this afternoon. Hennessy Lou Brown, Jaden Scott, Corey Lard, Maddie Hoon, and Katie Richardson. Those names don't sound familiar to RedHawk fans. That's for a reason. Only one returner in the starting lineup for Miami. That's Katie Richardson, the junior from Zionsville, Indiana, who was with this program last year. On the Western Kentucky side, it's Alexis Mead, Acacia Hayes, Teresa Fastino, Caitlin Stanley, and Karis Allen for head coach Greg Collins, who has not lost in his career to the RedHawks 3-0. In fact, Western Kentucky as a program has never lost to Miami. They are 6-0 all-time against the RedHawks, and will look to keep it rolling here on the road. It's been a very good start to the year for the Lady Toppers. Home opener for the Miami women, and they've got the alternate uniforms on, the white uniforms with the script Miami across the front in red letters, red numbering on the back, and the red names are below the numbers underneath, with the white shorts with red accents for Western Kentucky. They've got the all red on the road with red tops and red shorts, black accents and white numbers with the white Hilltoppers across the front of the jersey. Glenn Box announced for the first time over the PA here at Millett Hall. First year head coach of the RedHawks, trying to rebuild this program to what it once was. Miami facing a very tough test against a Western Kentucky team that is coming off an appearance in the NIT last season. Greg Collins has done a very, very good job with these Lady Toppers, turning them into one of the best mid-major groups in the entire nation. 10 minutes on the clock here from Millett Hall. Miami's going to play a lot away from home to begin the season during the non-conference slate. They've got just 3 home games before the turn of the new year, but RedHawks will start things off here at Millett Hall in front of this home crowd in just a couple of seconds. RedHawks move left to right, Toppers from right to left. The ball is in the air. The tip-off is won by Western Kentucky, and we are underway here from Millett Hall. 10 minutes on the clock here in quarter number 1. This is Alexis Mead, the California native for Western Kentucky. Back top of the key for Teresa Fastino. Senior out of Portugal, put into the low post. A turnaround shot comes from Stanley, and that had too much on it. It gets tipped on the rebound and goes out of bounds. It'll go to Miami here with 9:37 to go in the opening quarter. RedHawks taking it up the floor, and it's Corey Lard running the point. JUCO transfer and the native of Davenport, Iowa, dribbling with the left hand. Now cuts it to the right as she heads to the right side. Pass gets zipped over to Hennessy Lou Brown, put down into the low block for Katie Richardson. Turns around, bottom of the MAC logo, dishes off. Left elbow jumper comes up from Maddie Hoon, and it rolls off the rim, no good. Rebound by the Toppers, Alexis Mead. She carries up the floor, slings to the far side. In the corner, thinking about the shot, Acacia Hayes pulls it back down and finds Fastino left of the key. Now around the horn to the near side. Karis Allen will survey the floor. Back over to the far wing, Mead drives in, kicks out. Hayes fires off a deep 3. That's off the mark. And the rebound hits off the rim and out of bounds. It'll go back to Miami here. Scoreless through the first minute and 9 seconds from Millett Hall.
We're able to see really what the Miami RedHawks are going to try to do defensively. Hayes and Mead are really the two really talented guards for Western Kentucky. If they're able to slow them down, they'll have a lot of success today.
On the near wing, this is Lou Brown for the RedHawks, senior from Toronto, Ontario. Juts in, and now will kick out for Richardson. She fires off a three from the right side off the back iron. Rebound tipped in the air, and eventually into the hands of the RedHawks. Back outside, this is Corey Lard trying to put it down low, and we get a foul call. It'll be on Western Kentucky. So Miami will get an inbound here from the baseline with 8:22 to go in the first quarter. Quickly inbounded into the right elbow. A jumper by Richardson is in and out. Rattles away, and the rebound for the Toppers picked up by Mead. Western Kentucky pressing up the floor, but now it's pulled back to the center court logo where the Lady Toppers will set up the offense. Alexis Mead dribbling to the right side, now bounces back left for Acacia Hayes. At the left elbow, Stanley turns it around. Ball got stripped away, and Lou Brown heads the opposite direction for the RedHawks. Down the right lane, Euros lays it up and in, and she scores. First points of the game come from Miami, and it's 2-0 RedHawks with 7:49 to go in the opening frame.
Lou Brown, the second leading scorer against UL Monroe, the prior game for the RedHawks. We're going to look to lean on her heavily in this game.
Well, Glenn Box is a defensive guy. Miami's certainly been up to the task so far on that end of the floor as the ball comes to the near side. Hayes pumps the three, pulls back down, slings to the far side. Now Mead will try from deep. That's off the backboard bank, no good. Offensive rebound by Faustino. She slips free, and she lays it in with the right hand. Tied up at 2 apiece with 7:20 to go in the opening quarter. As Teresa Faustino, the senior from Portugal, gets the Hilltoppers on the board. Lard into the paint down low. The shot put up and in by Jaden Scott, the grad student. Sister of Jada Scott, 2 transfers from Cincinnati. Miami back in front by 2. Quickly up the floor into the corner. 3 put up by Faustino, and that's off target. Rebound by Lou Brown for the RedHawks. She pushes up the floor quickly. Now we'll give it back outside. This is Corey Lard for Miami, dribbling with the right hand. She finds Maddie Hoon, native of Carlsbad, California, West Coast freshman brought in by Glenn Box. Lard lost it on the dribble, makes her way back outside. 7 to shoot on the left side. Put down into the low block for Richardson, runs it around, tries to throw it up. It's off the underside of the backboard, but a foul is called on Karis Allen for WKU. And with 6:26 to go in the first quarter, Miami leading 4-2. RedHawks will get to shoot the game's first free throws as a couple of subs come in for each team.
Richardson, a really nice move, kind of up and under to the basket, was able to draw the foul. And you mentioned the impact that the Scots are going to have. The 2 grad transfers bring a lot of experience to this young team. They have a lot of experience in a really good American Athletic Women's Conference. They're going to play a big role for the RedHawks this year.
First free throw is good from Richardson. Jada Scott coming onto the floor now for Miami, the aforementioned sister of Jaden Scott, and Amber Treader, the freshman from Ferdinand, Indiana, coming on as Richardson knocks down the second free throw. 6-2 RedHawks, 6:22 to go opening quarter. Around the arc to the far side, contested deep 3 taken by Hayes, and it doesn't go. Rebound bounces up in the air, and Aaliyah Pitts hauls down with it for WKU. Offensive board, second chance points on the line for the Hilltoppers. Faustino jabs, tries to jut inside, but she's forced back outward. 8 to shoot now. It's Hayes at the top of the key. To the near side for Pitts. She puts it down near the paint for Stanley, drives in near the MAC logo, and she gets fouled and takes a hard fall there. There was only 2 seconds left on the shot clock, and she's a little bit slow to get up. She'll now be helped to her feet. Caitlin Stanley, the freshman from Augusta, Georgia.
It was a really good defensive possession for the RedHawks. As you mentioned, it was down to 2 seconds on the shot clock. And, I mean, the foul, not really, it looked kind of harder than it was, but it looked like a lot of ball from the Miami defender. But the ref deemed a lot of contact, and Western Kentucky kind of gets a little bit of a bailout foul right there.
5:56 to go first quarter, 6-2 Miami. It was not a shooting foul, and so Western Kentucky will inbound. Hayes pumps the 3, now drives baseline. She's forced back outside, and her pass got tipped by Lard, but Western Kentucky tracks the loose ball, but a pass to the far side is intercepted, and the RedHawks take it back over. Jada Scott will get the steal for Miami. Quickly up the floor, Corey Lard trying to put it into the paint, and that pass is taken away by Hayes. Quickly the other way. Betancourt drives through. Mac Logo loses it. Ball loose on the floor. Both teams on it, and it's a jump ball. And with 5:31 to go, the RedHawks will get it back here. They've got the arrow, leading 6-2.
Well, it's awesome to see the carryover between the men's and women's program. They both preach hard-nosed basketball, and you're able to see it right there. Both teams value getting on the floor and getting those loose balls.
As mentioned, Glenn Box was, as referred to by David Saylor, bringing him in, the architect of the Indiana defense that was one of the best in the country over the last few years. He's a defensive guy, and he wants the RedHawks to work from that end of the floor first. Down near the paint, it's swiped through by Scott. She'll go back outside for Lou Brown, drives in right elbow. Pass to the far side, goes to Treader. Now around to the near wing. Treader looking for something with 2 to shoot. Will just drive in and float one up. It's off the front of the rim, no good. Nearly an offensive rebound, but a good job to get inside positioning. Aaliyah Pitts has it for the Toppers. They'll press up the floor, but an errant pass tips off the hand of Faustino and out of bounds. And the RedHawks will get it back here with 4:54 to go in the first quarter. We've reached our first media timeout from Millett Hall, and it's been all defense so far, taking the spotlight. Our score after 5 minutes and 6 seconds of play is Miami 6 and Western Kentucky 2. We're back to Millett Hall after this. You're listening to Miami Women's Basketball on Red Hawk Radio.
This is the hour, the darkest place. Dante's Inferno, the devil's maze.
Back here at Millett Hall, Luke West Poley and Will Summers with you. 6-2 our score. Miami leads Western Kentucky with 4:54 to go in the opening quarter. And Will, Glenn Box, defensive guy. Think so far so good for this Miami team halfway through the first.
Well, the Lady Hilltoppers were able to knock in around 40% of their threes against Vanderbilt the last time out, and they're 0 for 4 today. So Miami really just got to keep that defensive pressure on, especially on the perimeter, and keep the Lady Toppers away from the three-point ball.
RedHawks have possession out of the timeout at the MAC logo. It is Scott that goes back outside for Large. She puts up a three in. That's off the mark, too far to the right. Rebound by Western Kentucky. They go up the floor quickly, and a shot gets swatted away down low from Faustino. And the RedHawks will outlet and get to carry it up the floor. Corey Lard carrying to the far side. Into the corner, this is Jada Scott. Now top of the key, Amber Treader has a defender all in her face. That's Aaliyah Pitts for Western Kentucky. Pass release to Corey Lard on the near side of the front court. 7 to shoot. Over to the far side, Lou Brown has it outside the arc now, puts it in. A little turnaround jumper there from Scott, and it falls off the back of the rim. Rebound by the Toppers. Meade over to the right side of the key. Josie Gilvin, the Louisville, Kentucky native, goes to the corner for Pitts, drives baseline, throws it into the middle, and it's stripped away. Corey Lard getting in that passing lane, and Miami takes it back here. RedHawks press up the floor, slashing across the paint. Lou Brown finds an open teammate in the corner, and a shot put up there by Lard was too strong. Rebound by Western Kentucky. Beg your pardon, that was Jada Scott who put up that long two there from the far side. 3:25 to go opening quarter, and a three comes on the far side from Western Kentucky's Gilvin, and that also misses off the back iron. Rebound by Miami's Lou Brown. Down low, a pass found Scott, but she traveled, and these teams are just going up and down the court right now. RedHawks will give it back to WKU with 3:16 to go in the first quarter, still 6-2 RedHawks.
Well, it was a really good find by Lou Brown underneath. Just an unfortunate travel, as it would have been likely an easy two or a foul. But, yeah, as you mentioned, both teams just kind of trading possessions. A lot of turnovers so far today, just in 7 minutes of play. Already 7 turnovers combined between both teams.
Neither team has scored over the last 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Western Kentucky hasn't scored in the last 4 minutes. On the near side, this is Hayes. Just inside the arc, she'll make her way back outside. Top of the key for Meade. Back to the near side for Hayes. A three on the way. It's off the front of the rim. Rebound pops in the air and falls into the breadbasket of Maddie Hoon for the RedHawks. And Miami will set up and take this one down the court. Lard spins across the timeline right down the middle. Her team up 6-2 with 2:43 to go in the first quarter. A bounce comes down low for Richardson, but a foul is called on the defender there. I believe that was Meade that was guarding Corey Lard. And it will be Meade that gets the foul. That's the second team foul for Western Kentucky, and it's Meade's first. And Miami will inbound with 20 seconds on the shot clock here. 2:42 to go first quarter, 6-2 RedHawks. And the inbound will come from Corey Lard, 5'9" junior guard from Davenport, Iowa. Pass gets floated out near midcourt. Amber Treader will hand off for Corey Lard, who runs the point for Miami. Near side, this is Richardson. Into the corner, three comes up from Treader, and it's in and out. Rebound on the weak side by Allen for the Toppers. Meade comes the other way. Left elbow, now drives down low, tries to throw one up. She got fouled before she could get that shot in the air. And so the foul will be on Katie Richardson for the RedHawks, and it will be a baseline inbound for Western Kentucky. 2:24 to go first quarter, 6-2, Miami leading the Lady Toppers.
Look, I've been really encouraged with seeing the offensive rebounding, or lack thereof, for Western Kentucky so far today.
Down low, a charge is called as getting down on the floor. Hennessy Lou Brown for the RedHawks draws the offensive foul, and Miami will get the ball back with 2:21 to go in the first quarter. That's another turnover for Western Kentucky, as that is now their 6th. Across the timeline, down the middle, a high pass got tipped, but it goes out of bounds off Hennessy Lou Brown. And Miami will cough it up and give it back to WKU. Lexus Meade running the one for the Lady Toppers. Around to the far side. Acacia Hayes, overhead pass to the top of the key for Meade. Now in the near corner, this is Karis Allen. Drives baseline, spins, can't get inside the paint. Outlets to the left elbow for Betancourt. Now back outside for Hayes. She got tripped up, and that's a foul on Miami. It will go against Corey Lard. That's her first.
Back to that point, it really feels like Miami is really out-toughing, out-hustling Western Kentucky in all facets of the game right now. We mentioned loose balls on the floor and then just rebounding. So something as simple as that really can help Miami, who has not had a great start to this year, really jump out to a 4-point lead.
Meade has it, circles around, gets into the paint and gets fouled again. This time it'll be on Lou Brown for the RedHawks. 1:46 to go in the first quarter, and it is 6-2. Miami leading Western Kentucky, and this game has not seen a basket in nearly 5 minutes. Western Kentucky has not scored over the last 5:38, and they're 1 for their last 9, or 1 for their first 9, I should say, of the game. Betancourt hands back for Meade, slings it far wing. Keisha Hayes now drives down the left elbow, kicks out, open three in the corner by Gilvin, and it's off the outside of the rim. Rebound was picked up by Miami's Amber Treader, but a foul is called, and it's going to be on the RedHawks, and Glenn Box is not happy on the Miami sideline, as that'll put the Lady Toppers into the bonus with 1:34 to go in the first quarter, and finally a chance for Western Kentucky to get some points on the board here after a very rough start offensively.
That's exactly what you mentioned. It's just free points opportunities, and you really start to bail out a team that hasn't made a lot of shots so far today, and giving them free chance at the line is never good.
First free throw, though, is missed by Hayes.
There's a lid on that basket.
There is right now. Second one up in the air, and it's good. Western Kentucky's first made basket in almost 6 minutes, and it's 6-3 Miami now with 90 seconds remaining in the first quarter. RedHawks get it across the timeline. Jordan Tuff finds Hennessy Lou Brown. Tuff was on the roster last year but missed the entirety of the season due to injury. On the right elbow, a pass is floated in there for the RedHawks by, looked like Treader, but it's taken away, and going the other way quickly, Meade tosses up a wild shot. Now it goes up in the air on the second effort. That one fell short from Karis Allen, and the RedHawks have it back now. Treader drives in, turns it around. Her shot attempt got partially blocked. RedHawks got the loose ball, though. Long two comes from the near side for Jordan Tuff, and that missed to the right. And the rebound controlled by the Toppers. With 47 seconds to play in the first, Gilvin tried to drive baseline, was forced back outside. And now to the center court logo, Meade directs traffic. Shot and game clock separated by about 23 seconds as Meade goes for Hayes. 32 seconds remaining if the RedHawks get this rebound as we get a foul called to the near side. Miami would have been able to hold for the final shot, but now we get a whistle with 30.1 seconds to go. And the foul will go to Jaden Scott for the RedHawks. That's her first, and we will get 2 more free throws now from Western Kentucky with 30.1 seconds to go. Hayes puts up the first, and it drops in.
Well, Luke, with how great Miami's defense has played so far today, it is a little discouraging to see that they couldn't really get out to a bigger lead in this first quarter. You're not going to keep a good offensive team like the Lady Toppers down for much longer.
Hayes hits both free throws. It's a 6-5 game with 25 seconds to go. Shot and game clocks are separated by about a half second, so the RedHawks really could hold for the final shot if they wanted to. Up top, Corey Lard waves off a teammate, finds Lou Brown, now back for Lard. Standing right next to half court with 8 seconds left on the clock. Lard comes around to the near side, now juts into the paint from the left elbow, tried to kick it back outside. Pass got tipped away, ball is loose on the floor as time runs down, and the clock hits zeros on the opening quarter of play. And that was one that you might want to cover your eyes if you like offense as 10 minutes go by, and neither team has cracked double digits. Our score after the opening quarter is Miami 6 and Western Kentucky 5. Fortunate thing is the RedHawks have the lead. Unfortunate thing is they held their opponent to 5 points, and like you mentioned a moment ago, Will, that the lead is not very big as the RedHawks only are in front by 1 point. We'll talk about this further when we come back to Millett Hall. We've reached the end of the first quarter, and we'll be back after this. You're listening to Miami Women's Basketball on Red Hawk Radio.
the sun goes down. Sleepless nights, you wake me up when the sun goes down. I can't help it, baby, not myself when the sun goes down. I can't, baby, I can't, baby,
Second quarter coming up here from Millett Hall. Luke West-Poley and Will Summers with you for the Miami women's basketball home opener. Well, if you missed the first quarter, we've got good news and we've got bad news. We'll give you the good news first. Miami only gave up 5 points in the first quarter. The bad news coming next, the RedHawks only scored 6. That's where we stand. It's 6-5 RedHawks after 10 minutes of play, and Miami did not score over the final 6 minutes and 26 seconds of that first quarter. It was a great defensive quarter. It was not all bad luck, although certainly that was at play between these two teams in the opening quarter, but neither team probably going to be too pleased with how things looked on the front end of the floor. Western Kentucky will have the ball moving right to left to start off this second quarter as each team tries to get this lid off the basket. Acacia Hayes, native of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, home of Middle Tennessee State, the team that beat these Lady Toppers last year in the Conference USA Championship. Hayes has it on the left side, drives in left elbow, kicks for Gilvin in the corner. Now she'll go back to the elbow and go back to Hayes in the corner. Nothing open. 9 to shoot, top of the key. Faustino around to the far side for Allen. Now Hayes gets a little bit of room. Right wing three comes up and hits off the right of the rim. No good. Rebound is pulled down by the RedHawks. Lou Brown going the other way. Stops on the right wing. Around to the far side. A three-pointer is put up in the air for Miami by Lard. That bounced a couple times off the rim but would not go, and the rebound is picked up by Western Kentucky. Hayes gets a lane to the basket down the middle, throws up a shot, but it'll be waved off. It missed anyway, as they'll say she got fouled on the floor. It'll be on Maddie Hoon for Miami. That's her first, and the first team foul of the second quarter for Miami with 49 seconds gone by. Miami leading 6-5. Gilvin finds Hayes on the near side. Hayes just left of the key. Chest pass for Gilvin. Post entry pass for Stanley. She got tied up, and that's a jump ball. As good job by Lou Brown to get her hands on the basketball. Miami's got the possession arrow, and they'll take over with 9:03 to go in the second and a 1-point lead.
Well, Luke, you mentioned at the top of the quarter the good news, bad news scenario. Another one for both squads, Miami and Western Kentucky, shooting 100% and 75% from the free throw lines, respectively. The bad news is they're shooting 15.4% and 8.3% from the field, so they're going to have to improve that, both squads. Have to put a little more emphasis on putting the ball in the basket, which, simple as that is.
Also, take it a step further, 0 for 12 from 3 between the two teams. 0 for 8 for WKU, 0 for 4 for Miami. A pass to the far side was way over Hennessy Lou Brown's head. Did a good job to leap up and touch it, but that is still going to sail into the Western Kentucky bench, and Miami will give away the ball here. That's the RedHawks' 6th turnover. 6-5 Miami with 90 seconds gone by here in the second quarter. Hayes driving in, now has it on the left wing, pumps a three, pulls back down, goes top of the key for Allen. Allen left-handed dribble, juts a step inside. Now Faustino lofts one up in the air. That rattles away, and we get a foul called over the back on the rebound as it'll be on Western Kentucky. Looked like they were going to get the offensive board there as Jalen Brill, the freshman from Nebraska, went way up high, but instead she'll get called for the foul. That's her first in the first of the quarter for Western Kentucky. Minute and 42 seconds in, and the offense continuing not to flow for either of these two teams in the second quarter. It's still 6-5 Miami. Lou Brown finds Lard driving in, rolls around the right side of the paint, and it's thrown up and in by Treader.
First basket in 8 minutes for Miami right there. Finally able to take the lid off our own respective basket.
8-5, RedHawks lead it. Second largest lead of the game for Miami at 3 points with 7:40 to go in the second quarter. Jab on the far side by Faustino, now makes her way in just outside the paint on the right. She's forced back outside. Good defense by Lou Brown. 6 left on the shot clock. A turnaround jumper comes up in the air by Faustino. It falls short. She gets her own rebound, though, and will work it back outside. Fresh 20 seconds to work with for Western Kentucky. Post-entry pass comes down low for Brill, and she gets fouled on the reach-in by Treader.
Now, Acacia Hayes really trying to eye up those deep three-point balls. Already shot 2 of them from way beyond the men's arc. So it's quite a longer three than the women's arc in general, and See if she makes a little adjustment to that or if she likes the deep ball in general.
She's got the ball in her hands, and she commits an offensive foul as there was a player inside for the RedHawks that went down. It's actually going to be on Jalen Brill, who was right next to the ball there. And so that will be her second in pretty quick succession. Picked up her first just a moment ago, and Miami gets it back here, leading 8-5 with 7:09 to go in the second quarter. Top of the key, Lou Brown directs traffic. Far side of the floor, Maddie Hoon back up top for Lard. Now Lou Brown with 5 to shoot outside the arc, finds Hoon, left of the paint, it's lofted back. Lou Brown has to toss one up from way deep, and it's off the back of the rim. Rebound is pulled down by Brill for Western Kentucky. Faustino quickly ahead, hands off, wide open was Pitts, elects not to take the shot, puts it down low, and Brill has it stripped away. Another steal for the RedHawks, 10th turnover by Western Kentucky. 8-5 our score with Miami leading, 6:27 to go in the second quarter. And out near half court for the RedHawks, this is Jada Scott. Crossing back and forth, fakes the three, and it'll be put off the foot there of Acacia Hayes.
Well, Luke, worth mentioning, even though Western Kentucky's only been held scoreless for the last 4:14, their last field goal, it came in with 7:58 left in the first quarter, so, or 7:24 left in the first quarter rather, and so Western Kentucky really just has not been able to find any success shooting from the field so far today.
The Toppers are 1 for 14 from the field right now. 6:13 to go in the second quarter. Miami leads at 8-5 following the kickball. It's Lard up top for Miami. She finds Lou Brown, back to Lard. 10 to shoot, right side of the front court. Jordan Tuff now on the right wing. Over for a wide open Lou Brown, takes a step inside. She traveled. And the RedHawks will give it right back to Western Kentucky here. And this is just nightmare fuel, I think, for both coaches on the offensive end. There's going to be a lot of film to break down to this first half with under 6 minutes to play in it. Western Kentucky controlling, trailing 8-5. Hand off to the top of the key. Long three by Hayes, and it misses left. Rebound by Tuff for the RedHawks. Toppers now 0 for 10 from three-point land. And out near half court, it's Corey Lard for the RedHawks, dribbling with the hip-high right hand. Pass slung for Lou Brown on the right wing, looking for a post-entry feed, and a foul was called with the pass on route on Western Kentucky. Pass was looking for Jaden Scott there, but there were three Toppers surrounding her, and so Miami will get an inbound here. 20 seconds on the shot clock, 5:34 to go in the second quarter, and it's 8-5. RedHawks over Lady Toppers. Inbound quickly in for Scott. She pulls up from 10 feet and hits the two. And Miami leads it 10-5, largest lead of the game, and the RedHawks finally crack double digits nearly 15 minutes into the first half. Pitts is just going to take a three for Western Kentucky, and that's nowhere close. Rebound by Jada Scott for the RedHawks. And really surprised that Greg Scott has kept such a calm demeanor on the Western Kentucky sideline the way things have been going. 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. Media timeout coming up at the next stoppage. Give both these teams a much-needed chance to regroup. For now, it's Lou Brown just outside the paint on the left side. Spinning around, just throws one up with the left hand. It won't go for her off the underside of the rim. And the rebound is pulled off the floor by Betancourt for the Lady Toppers. Up ahead, this is Pitts. Throws one up, and it rolls around the rim and in. And a timeout is called by Greg Collins. Interesting there, not deciding to wait for the media timeout. He's just going to call the timeout himself. It will become a media timeout, and we will take a break here with 4:38 to go. It's been a very weird start to this game here from Millett Hall. 4:38 to go in the second quarter, and our score is Miami 10 and Western Kentucky 7. This is like football. We're back to Millett Hall after this. You're listening to Miami Women's Basketball on Red Hawk Radio. 4:38 to go in the second quarter. Luke West Poley and Will Summers back with you. And Will, you just mentioned off air, if you're playing the pace game, this is going to maybe set historic lows on both sides as Miami leads it right now over 15 minutes into this game, and it is RedHawks 10 and Western Kentucky 7.
Well, Luke, it's easy to see the offensive struggles and just point straight to just missing shots, but really I think the issue runs a little bit deeper than that. The turnovers we mentioned off air, 16 total turnovers between both squads. It's really hard to get into an offensive rhythm no matter which team's been turned over the ball, but it's really hard to get in an offensive rhythm and just start, believing in the shots you're taking, and both teams look like they're not believing in the shots they're taking at all with how many turnovers they've been racking up.
Credit to both of these defenses. Miami with 6 steals, Western Kentucky with 3, but a lot of it has just been kind of sporadic and hasn't really had any sort of flow to the game yet. See what happens, though, over this final 4:38 before halftime. Western Kentucky called that timeout as Greg Collins was not going to wait on the media timeout. He called his first timeout of the game, and Miami has it, leading by 3 coming out of the break. Scott pushes down low, now into the middle. A long 2 rattles in and out. Jaden Scott gets the offensive board, though, and she cleans up the loose change. Jada Scott with the miss, Jaden Scott with the putback, and Miami leads it by 5. In the corner for Western Kentucky. Comes back up top, and now Faustino on the right side will slash across the free throw line and pass to the near wing for Pitts. Back around top of the key, Hayes on the left side, gets through the middle, lofts one up with the right hand, and it goes. And maybe these teams starting to find their rhythm a little bit as it's 12-9 Miami with 3:45 to go in the second quarter. Scott over for Corey Lard. Lard back up top for Hennessy Lou Brown. Lou Brown to the far wing, back for Corey Lard. 10 to shoot, not really a whole lot going on for the RedHawks right now away from the ball. Lou Brown back up top for Hoon. Chief fires off a 3 and hits it. First 3-point make of the game for either team. They were 0 for 15 prior to that, and Maddie Hoon has the RedHawks in front by 6. Now a 3 comes quickly the other way by Meade. She misses it, gets her own rebound, finds Gilvin. She'll put up a 3, and an air ball's long. A foul, though, is called on Miami on the rebound, and Western Kentucky will get a chance for a third try at it offensively. 3:05 to go in the second quarter, and it is 15-9 RedHawks.
Well, Luke, we saw this in the Coppin State men's game last night against these RedHawks. There's just a lack of three-point shooting, and we mentioned last night that they're going to start going away from three-point ball if it's not working.
Three-pointer put up in the air, and it misses long by Gilvin. Finally, a defensive rebound, but the RedHawks turn it over right away. Takeaway by Faustino. She throws it down low, and she can't connect with her teammate. That ball's just going to roll out of bounds. And my goodness, Will, this is really just...
It's a comedy of errors, feels like.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it just seems like fate that neither team is going to score in this basketball game. 15-9 RedHawks with 2:41 to go in the second quarter. They've got the ball back at the offensive end. Lou Brown thought about the drive, holds off at the top of the key. Tried to find an in-swinging Hoon, but the pass was behind her. She'll recollect outside. Tried to bounce it for Scott, but that pass misses her. Gilvin taking it the other way for the Toppers. Drives down low, backs through, finds Hayes on the near wing. 3 comes through, and it misses long. A foul is called on Western Kentucky on the rebound as Maddie Hoon got a shot right in the numbers, and with 2:21 to go in the second, the RedHawks get the ball back here.
Well, with everything that's gone wrong for the RedHawks today, the one really bright spot, and I mean really bright, has been the Miami's ability to box out down low. Whether it's offensive rebounding or defensive rebounding, Miami's doing a great job imposing their will in the paint.
Western Kentucky is 0 for 15 from deep. Miami is 1 for 6. 2:13 to go in the second quarter. Lou Brown has it on the right wing for the RedHawks. She's got 2 points for Miami out of their 15. Put into the paint for Treader. She puts it up with the right hand off the backboard, had too much on it, and Treader will foul Meade on the rebound for Western Kentucky. So the Toppers will be the beneficiaries of kind of a rough foul there from Amber Treader, and she will now head off the floor for Miami. 2 minutes to go as Western Kentucky is going to roll this up the floor, and it will now be picked up by Acacia Hayes. Or beg your pardon, that's Alexis Mead. Now it's Acacia Hayes on the left side with under 2 minutes to play. Drives baseline. Tries to throw it into the corner. The pass didn't find Gilvin cleanly, but she still gets to it. Kicks over for Faustino, but her three goes in and out. And it really feels like there's something in the basket that's just not letting these balls go in right now, as Western Kentucky is 0 for 16 from deep. In the corner, Jada Scott with the ball over her head, gives for Hoon right next to her, down low, getting free. Lard puts up a layup, that won't go. Put back attempt though by Jada Scott does, and Miami leads it by 8, 17-9 with 1:22 to go in the first half, as Scott has 6 of Miami's 17 points. Takeaway now as Faustino lost it. Good job by Western Kentucky to get back, as Lard couldn't get the fast break, and Lard goes down to the floor and loses it out of bounds. And Miami will turn it over here for the 10th time with 1:10 to go. Western Kentucky with 11 turnovers, Miami with 10, and 1 minute and 10 seconds to go in this second quarter. The RedHawks leading 17-9. Alexis Mead goes between the legs on the dribble, finds a wide open Faustino on the near side. Three comes up, and it misses again. Western Kentucky 0 for 17 from deep, and the rebound pulled down by the RedHawks. Hennessy Lou Brown carrying across the timeline on the right wing. Now it's Jordan Tuff, left side of the front court. Shot and game clock separated by 30 seconds with under a minute to play. Scott forced back outside, double coverage. She'll release to Lou Brown. Lou Brown into the post for Jada Scott, and she got fouled trying to turn around. And I believe that will be 5th team foul. It is on Josie Gilvin, and that is the 5th team foul for the Lady Toppers. That sends Miami to the free throw line. Oh. And Jada Scott will shoot with 38.9 seconds to go. Her team in front by 8. Scott's first free throw rolls off the front of the rim and in.
Well, Luke, we're able to see Miami, what we mentioned in the first quarter, how they weren't able to jump out to that big lead and capitalize off Western Kentucky having a historically bad first half performance from the field, and able to see kind of Miami try to take that step and build a bigger lead as we near halftime.
Second free throw misses the mark. Western Kentucky can't hold for the final shot here as three gets put up by Hayes, and she hits it. Finally, the first three-pointer from Western Kentucky. They're 1 for 18 as the shot clock turns off. And looks like Glenn Box maybe called a timeout, but the official's discussing with him. Jim has gone silent. What is going on here? There's 23.5 seconds left on the clock. It's 18-12, Miami leading Western Kentucky. And they're going to go to the monitor here, it looks like, to try and look at something.
Well, Luke, what I was going to say before this this intermission took place, Western Kentucky, prior to that three-pointer, 70% of their field goal attempts have been from beyond the arc. And when you're missing all of your three-point attempts up until that attempt, that's not a recipe for success at all. And Miami really has just looked like the better team today. They've been able to get out in transition and really set up a better half-court offense down low. And Western Kentucky's gonna in need of some major halftime adjustments if they want to get back into this ball game.
And it's really odd, Will, as Miami leads by 6 because, like we talked about off the open, I mean, Western Kentucky is good. This is probably the best team Miami has had on their schedule up to this point. Vermont was pretty solid, but Western Kentucky is really one of the better mid-majors you're going to find. And this is not just a bad team that the RedHawks have run into. Western Kentucky just having an off day so far, but the Hilltoppers are going to need to turn this around mid-game. Because if Miami decides to hold for the final shot here, the pace for the Hilltoppers will be to score 24 points in this one, which, I mean, it's probably been 70, 80 years in college basketball since you scored 24 points and win a game. 23 and a half seconds left. The officials are still looking at something on the monitor that we are not sure of. Didn't look like there was anything dirty or anything, you know, technical flagrant foul related. That was pretty clean play that just happened. So we thought might be a clock issue. Now they're going to get the call. Glenn Box didn't look super happy when the officials first decided to review, and now he's kind of protesting to the official. So what's going on here?
Well, as bad as Western Kentucky has been from the field, they're not really close to the record for least points in a half, as that was set by Howard last tournament, where they scored 4 points in the first half against South Carolina. So not historically bad, but dangerously close.
Those South Carolina teams, though, they're something else these past few years. 13 seconds remaining. Miami's going to hold for the final shot here. Corey Lard over for Lou Brown. 8 seconds left on the clock. Now this is Hoon just going to turn around and fire one. It doesn't go. Comes back to her with 2 seconds to go, and she hits the elbow jumper as time expires on the first half. Maddie Hoon puts it in. 5 first half points for her. And with the clock hitting zeros on a very weird, choppy, anything but normal opening half of play, Miami leads it by 8 as the score is RedHawks 20 and Western Kentucky 12. Well, we had a first quarter that was largely devoid of offense, Will. We thought that's just an outlier, and maybe it's going to turn around in the second quarter. It did not. What do you expect out of both of these teams coming out of the break to try and finally puts the ball into the hole a little more than they did in that first half?
Well, like I mentioned, I'm encouraged with what I've seen out of Miami offensively, even though the shots really haven't fallen like they've wanted to. I mean, they're up to 32% from the field now, so starting to near what they've averaged on the year as a whole. But Western Kentucky, I can't say the same. Nothing that I've seen in this first half has really encouraged me to say, okay, well, they'll be able to survive the shots not falling. It really is just nothing. They've done nothing correct so far today, and we mentioned the halftime adjustments are going to have to come up big for the Hilltoppers, or else this could be a long day for them and a long bus ride back.
Western Kentucky took 18 out of their 25 attempts from the field from beyond the arc. They only made one of them, and it was the very last one they took in the first half, as they were off to an 0 for 17 start from 3 before hitting their 18th. The only 3-point field goal came in that first half from Acacia Hayes. It's an old basketball saying, something like, I'd rather be, 0 for 10 than 0 for 2, because that means if I'm 0 for 2, that means I stopped shooting. Whatever it is, we'll see if Western Kentucky elects to go a little more inside the arc coming up in this second half. Anyways, it's time for our halftime report. We'll send it over to Andrew Relvas with Miami leading 20-12. Will and I back for the second half coming up after this. Stay with us.
Thank you, Luke and Will. Yeah, definitely a first half to forget if you love offense. The Miami RedHawks lead the Western Kentucky Lady Toppers 20-12 in was felt like a quick first half, but it was overall just a pretty sloppy first half. Ton of turnovers. I'll give you the turnovers. 18 total turnovers right now, 8 for Western Kentucky and 10 for the RedHawks. Luckily, the RedHawks are up by 8. Almost their biggest lead of the game, which was 9. But, yeah, it was a tough first half for both teams. They really couldn't get it going offensively, and I'm sure that's something Coach Collins and Coach Box want to preach, to take the easy shots and take the smart ones. So, overall, there's one positive for both sides. I'll go to the RedHawks first. I loved how the RedHawks just continue to stay in your face. Luke said it a lot on the air. Glenn Box preached defense first, and that's something exactly the RedHawks showed all first half. They got in the face of some Lady Toppers. They didn't back down. They played some great defense, especially on the perimeter and inside. And, for a good portion of that first half, it was most of the shots happening at the free throw line for Western Kentucky. They scored 1 field goal, only 2 points in the first, but 3 out of those 5 points came from the free throw line. So just some phenomenal perimeter defense. That's exactly what Glenn Box wants to see from his group, and they showed up really well against the Lady Toppers, who are a really good team. They were really good last year, made the NIT, and yeah, they're a tough team to stop. But so far, the RedHawks, they've looked sloppy. They're definitely not like these past 2 games' performances against UL Monroe and Vermont, but still a very solid first half against a very tough team in Western Kentucky. And on the Western Kentucky side, you come to this game with a record of 3-1. You've won by a lot. One trend, however, has really come up. It's been those turnovers. They've had double-digit turnovers in all their games. They're up to 11 currently. 21 total. I apologize, had that wrong. But, you have all these turnovers, you got to clean it up. And they're free possessions pretty much. You're giving the RedHawks the ball. You're saying, here you go, take the ball. And that's something you cannot have happen. You trail by 8. You know, you got plenty of very talented players. We'll see how they rebound, but it's just been one half to forget. Another stat to look out for, it's been the three-point shooting for Western Kentucky, 1 for 18. Feeling like the 2018 Houston Rockets. They're living and dying by the three there. Nothing is falling. They scored their first three-point field goal in the second quarter pretty late in that quarter. It's been just tough to watch for this Western Kentucky group. And overall, they just have to take the smart shots if they want to take down the RedHawks. I'll give you the stat leaders for both sides. Leading the day for Western Kentucky, it is the Acacia Hayes Show. 8 points, 2 for 8 from the floor, 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Good for her there. And she has 1 steal. Leading the Boards Fest, it's actually 4 Western Kentucky players. They have 18 rebounds to the RedHawks, 20. Faustino, Meade, Pitts, and Bethencourt all have 3. And there's only 1 assist on the Western Kentucky side. That is Acacia Meade with 1. And then Staley has 2 blocks. So it's a pretty barren stat landscape besides the points for Hayes. It's been a tough first half for the Western Kentucky. Going over to the Miami side, leading the scorer for the RedHawks, it is Scott, Jaden Scott, with 8 points, 4 for 5 from the floor. Very efficient first half for Scott. She's leading the day actually with 6 rebounds for all teams. Phenomenal stuff from Scott, the Cincinnati transfer. Lou Brown, as well as I told you in the pregame show, she's going to be a player to look out for who is going to really spread the basketball well. 2 assists leading the day. It's kind of crazy. It's halftime, and that's the leading assister, but she's been really good at kind of opening the court, opening her vision, and she's found the right shooters. In terms of steals, it was Western Kentucky actually today who entered today's game with averaging 15 steals a game. They had 1 player who had 3.5 steals averages, and then 3 players averaging over 2 steals a game. Phenomenal poise by Western Kentucky, but we have not seen as many steals as we anticipated coming into today's game. But it's been Courtney Lard who has 4 steals on the day. If she continues to get in the face of these Lady Toppers, it'll be a difficult second half for Western Kentucky, the visitors. I'll give you a MAC scoreboard breakdown, and then I'll give you the keys to the games for the RedHawks. How can they come back in this one and take down the Western Kentucky Lady Toppers and get their first win of the year? So across the Mid-American slate, a game that already concluded, Ball State takes down Northern Iowa 75-64. Ball State improves to 4-0. They're going to be a tough team in the Mid-American Conference this year. They continue to stay strong. A big home win for the Cardinals in Muncie. Cleveland State at, Central Michigan at Cleveland State. That'll be a 2 o'clock start, so starting in a few minutes. We'll see how the Vikings can handle the Chippewas. Should be a fun one in that one in Cleveland. Central Michigan trying to get their second win of the year. Bowling Green at Xavier. Going to be a fun Midwestern matchup. The Falcons and the Musketeers. That'll be a 2 o'clock start. Bowling Green the favorite in that one. Trying to get their second win of the year and trying to defeat the Musketeers at the Cintas Center. Finally, Eastern Michigan facing off against SIU Edwardsville. That should be a good game for the Eagles trying to get their first win of the year. That'll be a 3:30 start on the other slate. So I'll bring you to the keys of the game. How can the Miami RedHawks take down the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers? They have to continue to get in your face of the Toppers. They got to play some stout defense. That was really how the RedHawks were able to get a lot of chances. They forced a ton of turnovers, 11 turnovers for Western Kentucky. In the past few games for Western Kentucky, 27 turnovers versus Cornell in a game that they won. If they do that in another one of those games. I'm not saying you don't have to force 27 turnovers, but if you can force a few more turnovers here and there, you're going to widen your gap. You're going to widen your lead even more, and that's something that I'm sure Coach Box has been preaching, just some phenomenal defense and continue to stay in your face and show off that RedHawk mentality. The game before, they also had 18 turnovers at Vanderbilt. Got to keep forcing those turnovers and playing tough. The RedHawks also have to find the easy shots, attack the paint. They've got some nice post players in Rashawson, and you've got Scott among other players. Just force the ball inside. Hennessy Lou Brown, another one of those players who's going to be tasked with that. She's got good vision on the court. Just look on the inside. Try and get some fouls, make some shots, and win this one here at Millett Hall. The RedHawks also, they only have 4 free throw shots. And, I do love how they haven't really shot the three-point shot. That's something where if it's not working, then, you don't have to go to it. But 1 for 6 from 3, at least you made it. And you can somewhat go into that kind of possession if it's like a bailout shot or something like that. But overall, just pretty solid first half despite some poor shooting numbers for the RedHawks. We'll see. It'll be very interesting to see how both these sides decide to kind of turn it around on the opposite end. And if the RedHawks do win this one, this will be a very good win against a very good Western Kentucky group. I feel like a lot of people were counting out the RedHawks this year. Brand new head coach, you lost a ton of scorers. You lost Scott, you lost Ivy, you lost Freeman, you lost Kalush, you lost a ton of talent, and you bring in a ton of freshmen. But the fact that you're sticking with the big dogs here, Western Kentucky, who made the NIT tournament, top of the conference in the Conference USA, if you continue to stay strong, continue to stay in the face of the Lady Toppers, you are going to be in a great position throughout the rest of the year. And it'll be just so crucial. This game, I feel like, can determine a lot for the RedHawks. They lost the first 2 games. Going down 0-2, it's okay, but turning to 0-3, that is a tough spot to be in. But this feels like a very resilient group under head coach Glenn Box, and we'll see how this group decides to respond here. A very inexperienced group, but Lou Brown, Jaden Scott, Jada Scott, and Katie Rashawson, I expect all those players to show off some leadership qualities and help the RedHawks take down the Lady Toppers here in Millett Hall. So that's going to do it here from the halftime show live from Millett Hall. My name is Andrew Relvas. I'll see you all at the post-game show. So glad you could be here with us. I'll turn it over to Luke and Will in just a moment to see if the RedHawks can take down the Lady Toppers. Thanks so much, guys.
Third quarter coming up here from Millett Hall. Luke West, Poley, and Will Summers with you. 20-12 is the score at the break, with the RedHawks leading the Lady Hilltoppers from Western Kentucky. And Will, that was as nightmarish as a first half can be from a coaching standpoint on the offensive end of the floor. On the defensive end of the floor, I'm sure both coaches fairly happy with how their teams fared, but this this is a stat sheet that does not look very good really on either side. Miami has gotten the better of Western Kentucky so far, and deservedly so. The RedHawks shooting 32% from the field, which isn't great, but is good enough in a game like this where Western Kentucky is 16% from the field and 1 for 18 from 3. The Miami defense has been very stout in their home opener here this season in the first year under Glenn Box, but you kind of mentioned it, Will, at the end of the first quarter, and I think the same thing holds true now at halftime after a pretty similar second quarter of play between these two teams. If you're Miami, you almost feel like you've missed an opportunity a little bit with how well you've played on the defensive end of the floor, that you're not up by more points. An 8-point lead is good, and you'll be happy with that. But, I mean, it's not out of the question to say that you play an average game on the offensive end and play like you did defensively in that first half. You could be talking up 20, 25 points right now.
Well, Luke, it's not often that we as commentators get left speechless, but that was one of the halves that almost did it to us. And you mentioned Miami not jumping out to the big lead, but they are being way more efficient than Western Kentucky has been today. It's not often you see a team shoot 12 less three-pointers in a half and still be up by 8 points. Well, the only way that happens is if you make the same amount of three-pointers, and both teams are stuck on that big number one from three-point land. So both teams really got to figure it out. Just plain and simple, be frank with the viewers, or with the listeners rather. Both teams just got to figure it out. We'll see who made the better of the halftime adjustments and who can get on a little bit of a run to start off the second half.
And once again, this is no Western Kentucky team to sneeze at. Miami struggled to begin their season off to an 0-2 start, but Western Kentucky won their first 3 games, and their only loss came by 3 points against a Power 5 team on Wednesday. They lost to Vanderbilt 79-76, but it's a good Western Kentucky team. They made the WNIT last year. They're a very solid mid-major. Miami held them to 12 points in the first half. Hilltoppers control coming out of the break. Going to try to get some more offense going here in half number 2. This is Stanley just outside the paint. Feeds Allen on the near side for the Toppers. Now Stanley once again, right elbow, fakes the pull-up, now jumps up with it, and it's too strong. Rebound picked up offensively, though, and it's put back and in by Karis Allen. And Western Kentucky starting off strong in the third quarter as they get a bucket on their first possession after an offensive board. It's 20-14 Miami. 38 seconds into this third quarter. Lard over for Lou Brown on the far side. Now Lard crosses over the M back to the near wing. Richardson into the near corner for Scott just inside the arc. Richardson with an overhead pass now for Lard on the right wing. Drives in. Mac logo jumper's nowhere close, but she gets fouled. Little line driver there that was about 5 feet under the basket in terms of height, but she got a slap on the arm. And so some free throws coming up now for Corey Lard. Miami was 3 for 4 from the stripe in the first half. 9:06 to play third quarter, 20-14 RedHawks.
Well, Luke, you mentioned it's kind of dangerous to see Western Kentucky start off the half that well because we mentioned that the shooting's going to have to improve.
First free throw is hit by Lard.
The shooting's going to have to improve just by, at the average game, the numbers game says the shooting's going to have to improve for Western Kentucky. So Miami's going to have to hold on to this 8-point lead and see if they can carry them the rest of the way.
Second free throw is banked off the back of the rim, no good. A rebound pulled down by the Lady Toppers. Mead circles around with the baseline. She lays it off the glass and in. And Mead answers back as Western Kentucky's within 5. 21-16 is our score. Mead with her first bucket of the afternoon. Nearly a turnover, but Richardson gets to the loose ball and able to find Hoon, who jumps up from 20 feet, and she hits the jumper. Just inside the arc there, it looked like, and Miami leads it now 23-16. Over on the far side, Hayes works it back out. Three-pointer rises up from Mead. That rattled in and out. Offensive board, though, is picked up by Stanley. Ball loose on the floor, and it's picked up by Katie Richardson. That ball went about as far into the basket as it could go without actually dropping in. Richardson now at the top of the key is just going to take the three from the men's line, but she misses it too long, and the rebound picked up by Western Kentucky's Alicia Hayes. Faustino slashing across, threads the needle between two defenders, puts up a layup over the top of the basket. Offensive board is picked up and put back in by Caitlin Stanley. And now the team's starting to heat up offensively a little bit as they trade buckets. Over 2 minutes gone by, third quarter, and it's 23-18 Miami. Over the timeline, Corey Lard was defended by Mead, and it will be an offensive foul away from the ball there. It was a delayed reaction from everybody, but the foul will be called for Miami on Corey Lard. And Western Kentucky gets it back with a chance to cut it to one possession here. 7:44 to go in the third quarter, and it's 23-18 RedHawks. Alexis Mead dribbling with the right hand. Between the legs, finds a wide open Faustino, rises up for three and hits it.
Well, Luke, we mentioned if Western Kentucky starts to come alive, Miami's going to have to be able to respond, and here come the Lady Toppers.
Teresa Faustino hits just the second three-pointer for Western Kentucky. They're now 2 for 20 on the night. And it's 23-21 Miami with 7:13 to go in the third quarter. Outside the arc on the right side, Scott finds the open man as Hoon goes up for the three, but she misses it off the backside of the rim, and the rebound on the weak side by Western Kentucky. Running quickly the other way, Mead goes all the way through and lays it in to tie the game at 23. 23-23 with 6:50 to go in quarter number 3, as Miami has relinquished their lead, and Glenn Box is going to call timeout as the RedHawks get it across half court. And it's a 7-0 run for Western Kentucky over the last minute 53. They've got the game tied, and with 6:46 to go in quarter number 3, Glenn Box wanting to talk this one over. So Western Kentucky starting to come alive a little bit. Now, Will, we start to see the punishment come for the RedHawks and what we talked about at the halftime break, not being up by enough points given how badly Western Kentucky shot the ball in the opening half. Miami lets the Lady Toppers hang around, and within 3 minutes and 14 seconds, they've got the game tied after an 8-point halftime deficit.
Well, the scariest thing in sports is to let a good team hang around. When you got them down, you have to step on their throat and not let them back up, and Miami just did not do that right there. And we mentioned Western Kentucky. We talked about it all half. That wasn't the team that played in the WNIT last year. This is a good, really good Lady Hilltoppers squad, and Miami's, we mentioned Western Kentucky's halftime adjustments, and it looks like they've come to full fruition so far in these first almost 4 minutes of play in the second half, and we'll see how Coach Glenn Box wants to respond for Miami.
For context on how poor that first half was for Western Kentucky, there's typically on the live stats program that we use in the top right corner of the split box a trends box that gives you kind of stuff that's going on lately for an idea of runs and things of that nature. And normally it's over a very short time frame, like right now it reads 7-0 run for Western Kentucky over the last minute 53. For the longest time it read Western Kentucky won for their last 17 from 3, and that was over the course of the whole game. Things just were not going well for this Lady Toppers squad in terms of shooting the ball. Mentioned after that first half, a lot of it was due to the looks that they were taking. Many of them were not good. They've cleaned that up a little bit here in this second half, but most of all, the execution inside has just been a lot better, and Western Kentucky has also taken a lot more looks now from inside the arc as opposed to just firing off threes like they were in that first half, and it's paid off for them as they've chipped into this 8-point lead and totally erased it now just over 3 minutes into this third quarter. Miami will have the ball coming out of the timeout. The RedHawks are moving right to left in this third quarter. It is 23-23. The RedHawks have not scored over the last minute 53. Miami shooting 32% from the field right now. RedHawks with 11 turnovers, Western Kentucky with 12. And regardless of what goes on in this second half, that first half, it truly was just baffling. That probably produced 3 to 4 games worth of negative film on both sides. These coaches are going to have their work cut out for them when it comes time to break down the video. RedHawks will try to get the lead back here. They've got 20 seconds to work with on the shot clock and are inbounding in front of their own bench just beyond half court. Inbound comes into the backcourt as Corey Lard will control for Miami. Lard for Maddie Hoon. Back over for Lard, and now Hoon once again getting no air as Mead's right in her face, but she's able to release it, and now this is Lard crossing back and forth for 3 to shoot, drives through the middle, floats one up from 10 feet, and it rattles off the rim, no good. Rebound by the Lady Toppers. They push the floor quickly. Allen on the right side goes back out to the half-court logo for Mead. Now over on the far side, Acacia Hayes controlling. Back to the near wing it goes. Allen puts up a three, and it goes. They're starting to drop for Western Kentucky. Karis Allen, the sophomore, up to 5 points, and it is a 3-point lead now for Western Kentucky, as this is just their first lead of the game since the early first half. 26-23 our score, and coming the other way, Jada Scott runs over a defender, and that's going to be an offensive foul as Scott picks up her second. 5:49 to go now, third quarter. Western Kentucky leading 26-23, and the Toppers will have the chance to extend their first two-possession lead of this entire game coming up momentarily. The officials are going to discuss this.
Yeah, it looks like there was the potential for a flagrant foul is a serious blow to the face. I mean, it's worth the discussion. I think the Western Kentucky coaching staff wanted the refs to take a look at it. It looks like they're going to.
So they will go to the monitor, like Will said. First time we didn't know what they were looking at. This time we do, as the foul on Miami's Jada Scott. She tried to just drive to the basket, and like Will said, caught the defender up high, and so they'll look at this for a possible flagrant foul. As it stands, it's just a regular personal, and it's Western Kentucky ball leading by 3 with 5:49 to go in the third quarter. First of 2 games on our schedule. This is the only one involving Miami, but we will carry the second game of the afternoon played on the Millett Hall floor coming up after this one. It's set for a 3:30 start. Either that or 30 minutes after this game concludes, whichever one comes last. And that game will be between the Coppin State Eagles and the Eastern Illinois Panthers on the men's side. Eastern Illinois will be Miami's opponent tomorrow in men's hoops. 1 o'clock start between the RedHawks and the Panthers in the final game of the Miami Classic. Miami handling Coppin State yesterday en route to a blowout victory. RedHawks' first win of the year on the men's side. Now the women looking for their first win here in their home opener after a pair of losses on the road. Glenn Bach's new head coach, he's not really doing himself any favors with the type of schedule he constructed in non-conference play. This is just a gauntlet for Miami. You got mid-majors like Vermont, Western Kentucky. You've got Dayton on the schedule as well. A few teams that are always good on the women's side, and then some pretty big guns. You've got Xavier coming up next Monday. That's the RedHawks' next home game following the Thanksgiving break. That's set for a 7 p.m. start on November the 27th. They're under first-year head coach Billy Chambers, the Musketeers. Miami's also got Michigan on the schedule as well as Michigan State, as both of those teams will host the RedHawks up north in the month of December. Michigan State hosting Miami on December 3rd. RedHawks go to Michigan to take on the Wolverines on December 16th.
Luke, and you mentioned Glenn Bach's Indiana background. He's used to playing these really talented Big Ten squads, and if Miami's going to compete on the same level as some of those teams, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and Glenn Bach believes fully in that philosophy.
So we're back underway as they'll just keep it at a personal, and Western Kentucky will have it coming out of the break, leading by 3. 26-23 Toppers with 5:34 to go, third quarter. Slashing across. Here comes Hayes into the paint. She puts it up and scores from the MAC logo. And Western Kentucky has their first two-possession lead of the game. It's 28-23 WKU. RedHawks get around the press. Scott driving around, pulls up from just outside the paint on the right side, and the shot falls short. Rebound picked up by the Toppers, swiped out of the air by Allen. Now up ahead, Meade thought about pulling up from the elbow. Instead, she finds Faustino, jabs, goes over for Allen. Three-pointer comes up, and it's good. And Western Kentucky is quickly taking control of this one. It's 31-23 in favor of the Hilltoppers. Scott on the left wing, offensive end for Miami. Finds Richardson down low. She gets fouled as she puts up a shot with two hands that doesn't go, but she will go to the line to shoot two. And that will come following a media timeout. Well, Western Kentucky has seen a 16-point swing in their favor in the first 5 minutes and 13 seconds of this third quarter, as the Toppers have already scored more in this third quarter than they did in the entirety of that first half, with 4:47 to go here in quarter number 3. Our score is Western Kentucky 31 and Miami 23. We're coming back to Millett Hall after this. Stay with us. You're listening to Miami Women's Basketball on Red Hawk Radio. 31-23, Western Kentucky has taken the lead over Miami here inside Millett Hall. Of course, Poley and Will Summers with you. Andrew Relvas is our host this afternoon for the women's game. Andrew will jump over to the color headset. Sean Wiseman will host for our next game coming up at 3:30, as in men's hoops, the Coppin State Eagles take on the Eastern Illinois Panthers in Game 2 of the Miami Classic. 3:30 Eastern Time tip here from Millett Hall, coming up in just over an hour following this game. 22-5 run for Western Kentucky and a 15-0 run over that same span for the Toppers. But Miami with a chance to clip into this lead a little bit with Katie Richardson at the free throw line. Junior out of Zionsville, Indiana, was with this team last year. One of a couple of returners that Glenn Box is going to rely on for some veteran presence. First free throw is put up and through by Richardson. And it's a 7-point game. Western Kentucky went into the halftime break trailing 20-12 and has since taken the lead. Second free throw is made, and it's a 31-25 game. Meade has it for the Hilltoppers. Over to the far side for Acacia Hayes. Now this is Allen, left side of the key. One hands over for Meade, who calls for some movement inside. 10 left on the shot clock. Meade still out at the top of the key. Will lob it over to the far side for Betancourt. Fakes the shot, now rises up and hits it from mid-range. And Betancourt's got the lead back up to 8 for WKU with 4:13 to go in the third quarter. It's 33-25. Three players combined on the press break for Miami, and RedHawks will get it across the timeline as Lard dribbles with the left hand and now the right. Lard out near half court, guarded closely by Hayes. Spins around, still at the top of the key. 8 seconds to shoot. Lard still with the ball in her hands, looking for an option with 5 left. Richardson now from the right elbow, spins, puts it up off the glass, and it rolls off the right side of the rim. Rebound picked up by Betancourt for Western Kentucky. Toppers up the floor quickly. Faustino to the near side. This is Meade. Fakes the three, drives down the lane. Now goes baseline, turns it around and fires back outside. Hayes open for three, puts it up from deep and it's off the mark. Offensive rebound, Faustino over to the right elbow for Betancourt. She pulls it back down. Now Hayes another open tray and it clatters home.
And Hayes has really impressed me in this second half of play. Her second three ball of this half, or first three ball of this half, but man, she's really had a great presence out there for the Lady Toppers.
Hayes with 13 points to lead all scorers, and it's 36-25 Western Kentucky. First double-digit lead for either team tonight. Hoon spinning around for Miami, just pivoting. She couldn't restart her dribble, and that's going to force Glenn Box to call a timeout to avoid the turnover. As with 3:03 to go in the third quarter, the RedHawks will call the timeout. They've got two remaining, and they now trail 36-25. A quick 30-second timeout for Glenn Box. Jada Scott leading all scorers for the RedHawks. Jaden Scott's got 8. Sister Jada's only got 1. It came on a free throw. Miami now under 30% from the field, and 1 for 8 from 3. Pretty light crowd here at Millett Hall on this Saturday afternoon. No football game today for the RedHawks as they won in the midweek against Buffalo and punched their ticket to the MAC championship. They will be in action next Saturday as they get kind of a half bye week. And will take on Ball State coming up next Saturday on the road from Muncie. Slipping down low, Scott gets free and worms underneath to lay it in with the left hand. Scott tacks on another, and she's now up to 10 points. 36-27, driving baseline. It's forced up in the air by Stanley, but the rebound falls short. She picks it up herself, though, and goes back outside for Faustino. Faustino slashes across the MAC logo, turns it around, finds Betancourt down low. She puts it up and in, and the foul.
Just feels like everything that Miami did correctly in the first half of play is what Western Kentucky's tried to emulate in this half, and Western Kentucky compound that with the three ball starting to drop for them, and this is a pretty scary Lady Topper team.
Western Kentucky has hit 4 threes now in this second half. Betancourt trying to complete the old-fashioned three-point play, and she does, no problem on the free throw. And it's a 12-point lead now for the Hilltoppers. That's the largest lead of the game for them, 39-27 with 2:27 to go in the third quarter. Lard gets it across the timeline over for Hoon. Hoon now over to the far side for Treader. She puts up a three. That won't go. Offensive board. Second attempt by Scott. That goes inside the bucket but out. And the rebound is picked up by the Toppers. Running the other way. Meade thought about the elbow jumper. Instead, Faustino goes up from three. And another one she buries. 42-27, Western Kentucky is really putting some air into this lead right now as it's taken across the timeline on the right wing. Now Treader in the right corner for Miami with under 2 minutes to play in the third. RedHawks have seen this game slip away from them in this third quarter. Scott's just going to jump up from long range and hits the two. On the far side, Scott taking matters into her own hands on that possession. And it's down to a 13-point lead, 42-29. Driving down low, Meade gets fouled in the lane. And the foul will be on Lard for Miami. And with 1:35 to go in the third quarter, it will be an inbound under the offensive basket for Western Kentucky.
Well, Luke, you mentioned the game starting to slip away. Western Kentucky hovered around 6% from three in the first half. Now 71.4% in just this quarter alone from three. Western Kentucky, we mentioned, starting to come alive.
Hayes runs around to the far side, finds Faustino open in the corner, puts up a three, and you bet. Faustino has really come alive from deep. That's her third tray, and she's got 11 points now for the Hilltoppers, who lead by 16. Lou Brown on the near side, haven't called her name as much in the second half, puts it into the paint, and 3 players go down after it. A foul is called on Western Kentucky. It's going to be on Teresa Faustino, and with 1 minute and 3 seconds left in the third, Miami will inbound from the baseline on the offensive end of the floor. 45-29, Western Kentucky leading the RedHawks. Off the inbound, Scott wide open, puts up a long two and hits it from the mid-range. 45-31 is now the score. Meade driving in, turns it back outside, finds Betancourt open from the MAC logo, puts up the J and connects. Betancourt, the senior out of Venezuela, has hit a couple of buckets as of late, and he leads back up to 16 for the Lady Toppers. Three taken early in the shot clock by Hoon, and it had too much on it. Rebound by Hayes for Western Kentucky. Runs it to the near side of the floor. Faustino open for three, and she hits another.
Unreal. I mean, this has been one of the most impressive quarters I've seen from a women's college basketball team in quite some time.
Western Kentucky is up by 19. Shot clock is off with 10 seconds to go in the quarter. And trying to force it inside. Schroeder gave it away, and the RedHawks will pick up a foul as they try to prevent some fast break points going the other direction.
I mean, Luke, this is a spectacular shooting performance in just this quarter alone. 38 points in the third quarter for Western Kentucky. They only had 12 points the entire first half. Just a complete 180 of how really the game was trending in the first half of play.
Western Kentucky shot 9% in the first quarter. They are now shooting over 42% on the game. 6.8 seconds left, and that foul put the Hilltoppers into the bonus, and so they will get to shoot free throws. Karis Alvin will shoot them for the Lady Hilltoppers, and the first one goes off the back of the rim, no good.
And really, what has led to success for the Lady Toppers so far this quarter? Only one total turnover for them this quarter, and we mentioned the turnovers, how they can kind of take away from the viability of an offense, and right now Western Kentucky limiting the turnovers has led to a lot more shot attempts and a lot more makes.
Allen hits the second free throw to open the lead to 20. 5 seconds left in the quarter, and Lard carries it across half court and just hauls one up from deep. It's off the mark, and that is the end of quarter number 3. And what a quarter it was for Western Kentucky. They only scored 5 points in the first, 7 points in the second quarter, 39 points in quarter number 3 from the Hilltoppers, and they have taken a commanding 51-31 lead over the Miami RedHawks with a 34-8 run over the last 8 minutes and change of that third quarter. RedHawks down big now in this fourth quarter. Western Kentucky trying to hold on to this one on the road. See if they can when we come back. You're listening to Miami Women's Basketball on Red Hawk Radio. quarter here from Millett Hall. Luke West, Poley, and Will Summers with you. What a third quarter it was for Western Kentucky as they now lead it 51-31 over Miami. After a huge swing, the Toppers only scored 12 points in the first half, but now lead it by 20. Around to the near side as Lou Brown puts up a 2 and couldn't get it to go. Offensive board, and the putback with the foul is good by Richardson.
Big time shot from Richardson right there. Luke, I really couldn't help but think about the quote you said as we went into halftime from Dion Waiters about going 0 for 30 rather than 0 for 9 because he stopped shooting. And that's exactly what Western Kentucky did. They just kept shooting the three-point ball, hoping they'd fall, and they eventually did.
Free throw is good by Richardson, and it's now a 51-34 game. But yeah, they were 1 for 17 at halftime from 3. They were 7 for 10 in that third quarter. On the near side for Western Kentucky, Pitts dishes off in the corner for Gilvin. Now a post-entry feed. Brill with the turnaround shot, and that is short. Rebound for Miami comes from Hoon. Over to the far side, it's run up the floor by Lard. Tried to get something inside, instead she'll go back out for Richardson. Crossing the floor, stops at the top of the key and feeds far side for Lard once more. 15 on the shot clock, Lard on the near wing. Hoon thought about the long three, now she'll put it up, it misses left. Rebound is picked up by Gilvin for Western Kentucky. Mead across the timeline on the right wing, crossover dribble, gets down the left lane, threads a pass through, but it deflects off the knee of Brill, still finds its way outside for Faustino, who unleashes a 3 and buries it. Faustino has been ice cold from deep. That's her 5th triple of the second half. She now leads all scorers with 17 points, and the lead is back up to 20. Hoon has it for the RedHawks. Tries to drive baseline, but is forced back out to the elbow. This is Scott now on the near wing. A 3 put up and made by Corey Lard. So the RedHawks answer with a 3 of their own, and the lead is under 20 with just under 2 minutes gone by in this fourth quarter. Mead gets a screen set for on the left side. Now left elbow goes to the free throw line, finds Brill down low. Her shot gets blocked, and the RedHawks take it the other way. Lard gets across the timeline right wing, behind the back dribble. Able to dish this one off, and now down low cutting through. Maddie Hoon finds herself wide open. Credit the assist to Nuria Hurjo, the Spanish freshman for the RedHawks that found her down low, and the lead is down to 15. 54-39 with 7:42 to go in the fourth quarter. RedHawks trying to put something together here potentially. Outside the paint on the far side, Brill with her back turn makes her way back outside. And now a timeout is called by Greg Collins and the Lady Hilltoppers as he wants to slow up any run before it really gets started on the other side. His team leads it by 15. Miami has cut into this lead that was once as large as 20 points for Western Kentucky.
Well, Katie Richardson came to the bench kind of hobbling. Looks like it was something wrong with her ankle, and she's now getting medical attention. Looks like they're going to try to bring her behind the bench, try to get some work done on that ankle. She came up limp after the defensive rebound that Miami later scored on, and she looked like she was really 5-on-4, 4-on-5 rather for Miami as they came down and was able to bank in that layup. But if they lose Richardson, that's going to hurt big time as these last 7:36 are going to be crucial for Miami.
54-39 is the Western Kentucky lead. As we'll mention, 7:36 to go in the fourth quarter. This is a good time to talk about some stuff coming up over these next few weeks for Miami athletics. As, of course, got the game later today between Coppin State and Eastern Illinois, and then the Miami men tomorrow against Eastern Illinois to wrap up the Miami Classic. Next week, we've got one game for you coming your way the day after Thanksgiving on Friday as the RedHawks hockey team hits the ice in a non-conference series against the Mercyhurst Lakers. Friday at home, Sunday on the road. We'll have that Friday game for you here on RedHawk Radio. Coming up at 7 o'clock on Friday night. And we are also confirmed and all good to go for the MAC Championship game on December 2nd. We'll be there to have coverage of that event for you as Miami looks to get some revenge on the Toledo Rockets, who have given the RedHawks their only conference loss of the season. And, of course, the game where Brett Gabbert went down with a season-ending injury. Miami trying to find their way through the rest of the season with Avion Smith, and they've done a pretty good job so far. They haven't lost since that Toledo game. The RedHawks will look to pick up their 10th win of the season coming up against Ball State on Saturday. Talking before the game with some Miami athletics people and various sources, and general vibe is that this team may not be out of it if they could win out to potentially get a New Year's Six bid if some crazy things happen in some other conferences. Certainly will get a pretty good bowl assignment this year if they can pick up 10 or 11 wins before the bowl assignments come out. Katie Richardson is at the training table out in the tunnel, and so she has been forced to come out. Western Kentucky will inbound this from their offensive baseline, leading 54-39 with 7:36 to go in the fourth quarter.
Well, look at, just to wrap up the football talk, it's really encouraging to see the roster Chuck Martin built and the future, that the groundwork that he's laid for the next couple of years. And we talked about recruiting a couple weeks ago at one of the football games. He's prioritizing recruiting local talent, and some of the local talent really has been showing out in the Indiana and Ohio high school playoffs.
He's got some good recruiting classes coming in. A tap up coming out of the timeout by Gilvin as that ball just got lofted up to her. She slapped it at the basket, but she missed, and now the RedHawks take it the other way. Turning around, Maddie Hoon from the free throw line tried to pass it outside, but it's stolen away by the Lady Toppers as Mackenzie Chatfield throws it to the far side. Mid-range J in the air, and Betancourt knocks it down. So now we're starting to see Greg Collins open up his bench a little more. It's 56-39, Western Kentucky with 7:03 to play. And for the RedHawks on the far side of the floor, this is Hurho that backs it up. Now a free throw line jumper gets partially blocked from Scott, and the Toppers will come down with it. Kenzie Chatfield over for Pitts on the far side of the floor. A bullet pass inside for Betancourt. Turns around, mid-range jumper, you bet. And Glenn Box is going to call timeout. Miami has given Western Kentucky a couple of easy and quick buckets on the offensive end of the floor, and the Hilltoppers have this lead back up to 19. Good timeout a little bit ago by Greg Collins as his team looked ready to play coming out of it. And just about 30 seconds later, RedHawks are forced to call a timeout of their own, down by 19 here with 6:42 to play.
We mentioned in the pregame the turnovers that have plagued Western Kentucky, 27 in a win a couple weeks ago, and really only 13 today, has led the Hilltoppers really to have quite the day shooting. And we mentioned the third quarter shooting, 77.8% from three just in the third quarter, and really Miami not all out of it yet, still 6:42 to go, but Hilltoppers really looking to make a push as we head into the home stretch.
Lard carries it up the floor across the timeline right down the middle for the RedHawks. 6.5 minutes to play. Lard for Hurro in the near corner. Back out for Lard at the center logo. 10 to shoot for Miami. Lard finds Hoon on the near side on the flank with 5 to shoot. Cuts it across at the far elbow. A high toss for Hurro. She's just going to have to step back. Throws this one into the paint, but there's not enough time. Shot clock expires, as just nobody wanted to shoot it there for Miami, and they will give it away in the shot clock violation. Western Kentucky getting the ball back here, leading 58-39 with 6:06 to go in quarter number 4. Pitts on the far side, up top of the key for Gilvin. Drives left elbow, goes back outside for Faustino, leading three-point shooter, leading scorer for Western Kentucky in the game. Chatfield spins into the paint, overhead pass to the far side, but she traveled. Faustino drilled a three after the whistle, but Miami will hold the Hilltoppers off the scoreboard over that possession, and 5:53 to play. The RedHawks get the ball back down 19. And the Scott sisters trade places. Jada off, Jaden on, as Miami will go back to work on the offensive side. Lard dribbles it across the timeline with the left hand. Holding on to it left side of the front court. Faustino preventing anything from getting to the middle, and Lard tried to force it that way. A foul called inside. Gilvin thought she had the steal. So that foul, or that ball rather, was looking in the direction of Jaden Scott, but wasn't really close to her. Luckily, the RedHawks pick up a reach-in foul call inside, and so they'll get a second chance at life here as Urho gets the inbound, but she travels, trying to drive right down the middle of the paint. Miami gives it away. That's their 16th turnover.
The urgency really just not there for the RedHawks at all. We were able to see the previous possession was a shot clock violation. That just can't happen with the deficit they're facing and the lack of time on the scoreboard. Miami just has to get more urgency. Just not there right now.
Betancourt drives just outside the paint. She'll chest it back outside. Top of the key, Faustino trying to run things, dribbling with the left hand, 10 to shoot. Comes off a screen, little bit of room on the left elbow, now drives down the left lane, kicks into the corner. Gilvin collects and travels as she tried to drive back into the paint. And this is kind of giving vibes of first and second quarter now as teams are just repeatedly giving the ball back to the other side. 5 minutes to go, 58-39, the lead for Western Kentucky over Miami. Urho trying to wave her teammates around inside with the right hand. She spins, heads down the right side, outside the paint. She'll now back into the corner. Now she jumps through, jumps to the left elbow and tries to fire off a shot, but she missed it way long, and the rebound picked up by the Hilltoppers. Faustino dribbles between the legs. Finds Gilvin at the top of the key, drives just inside, and will throw it over for Betancourt, who puts up a 2 from the right elbow that doesn't go, and the rebound pulled down by the RedHawks. Lard goes over for Urho in the corner, now back for Lard. Lard dribbling with the right hand, hands to Urho. She looks and gives to Hoon at the free throw line, worms through and gets a slap on the wrist from Gilvin as she was trying to lay that ball up, and the foul will be called.
Interesting to see if this should be a immediate timeout, but I guess. Interesting. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure how that really is going to work because there wasn't a immediate timeout in the under 5, but.
Believe they waived it because there was a immediate timeout earlier on due to the first time out of the quarter being called. The free throw is missed as it clatters off the backside of the rim for Maddie Hoon, freshman from Carlsbad, California. Second free throw put up, and that swirls out. 0 for 2 trip for the freshman, and Miami continues to trail by 19 with 4:07 to go in the game. Chatfield dribbling with the left hand, native of Auckland, New Zealand, finds her fellow foreigner in Faustino, puts up a 3 from the left side, but that hits off the backboard, no good. Rebound RedHawks, Lard across the timeline, splits between 2 defenders. On the right side, try to force it in the paint for Treader. It hits off her leg and goes out of bounds, and it'll go back to Western Kentucky here. 17th turnover for the RedHawks with 3:50 to go in quarter number 4.
Well, we mentioned a culture-building game for the RedHawks. Obviously, with Coach Bach's first year, nothing in place so far as it comes to really just the foundation of this squad. Just trying to build that foundation as we head on into December and eventually into conference play.
Pitts drives baseline, puts it up, gets the foul. Threw it off the glass and missed the shot, but she'll get 2 free throws. Again, for Miami, they'll have over a full week to prepare for this one as they will be off the entirety of the Thanksgiving week and won't be back in action until next Monday, as they will be on the floor against the Xavier Musketeers here at Millett Hall. Free throw gets put up, and it'll drop in for Aaliyah Pitts, senior from Suitland, Maryland. Lead back up to 20 for the Hilltoppers as the second free throw spins off the back iron. Rebound on the floor and picked up by Western Kentucky. Josie Gilvin gets to the loose ball. 3:22 to go in the game, 59-39 Western Kentucky. Faustino, right side of the key, little shimmy shake over to the far side for Gilvin. Can't pull the trigger on a shot, 5 left to shoot. Gilvin drives baseline, can't go up and under, and she stepped on the baseline trying to throw it to the near corner. So the Hilltoppers will turn it over. They have struggled with turnovers a little bit as well. They've got 16, but some hot shooting in the second half after a dreadful first has given them this 20-point lead. Bullet pass up ahead. Richardson's wide open under the basket, and she's going to lay it in. Nice find from out near half court by Urho. Faustino into the near corner for Pitts. 3 comes up, and off the back of the rim, no good. Rebound by the RedHawks and Amber Treader. Warhoek gets the pass across the timeline on the right wing. 59-41 Western Kentucky, 2:40 to play. Warhoek dribbling with the left hand. Now cuts back to the right. Over for Jada Scott, trying to enter it into the paint for Katie Richardson, who's back onto the floor, and it missed her out of bounds. It'll go back to Western Kentucky. Good to see Katie Richardson back on the floor, as she looked like she had suffered an ankle injury earlier on, was limping, had to go to the medical table, got some attention, but she's back out for Glenn Box. 2:30 to play, and Miami down by 18. Mackenzie Chatfield carries across the timeline, spins it around, and will hold on for the Toppers. Now drives right elbow, pulls it back out for Faustino. Faustino now works it back inside from the tip of the MAC logo. She kicks for Pitts at the top of the key. Now back for Faustino. Three comes up, and it rattles off the front of the iron. No good. Offensive board into the corner for Chatfield. She drives in, floats one up, and hits it from just outside the paint on the far side. Lead back up to 20 with under 2 minutes to play. 61-41 Lady Toppers. And Hurho dribbling with the left hand for Miami. Puts it over for Scott, and it just went right through her hands and out of bounds into the Miami bench. Just adding insult to injury at this point for the RedHawks, who are one away from the infamous 20 turnover mark. 1:48 to go in the fourth quarter, and the Hilltoppers take over.
Well, Miami just does look gassed, and looks like they're going to get some subs in. And yeah, it just looks like they're getting kind of outworked and really just out-conditioned, and looks like they're sucking wind on that bench. And really, like you mentioned, Luke, just regroup and get ready for the Xavier Musketeers in a couple of days.
Chatfield on the left side. Jabs now spins through the paint. Little fadeaway J, and it airballs short. Brill gets the loose ball, though, and finds Pitts. She drives in, puts it up, and gets the foul as the shot misses off the front of the rim on the line drive. 2 free throws coming up with 1:33 to go in the fourth quarter, and it's 61-41 Western Kentucky. Aaliyah Pitts at the line to shoot 2. Western Kentucky 6 for 9 from the line today. First free throw is knocked right through by Pitts, and it's 62-41 Hilltoppers. Western Kentucky will be back at home for one before 4 straight on the road, as the next free throw is good to make it a 63-41 ball game with 90 seconds to play. Western Kentucky will be home against Bucknell coming up in 3 days, an 11 a.m. start on Tuesday against the Bison. Jordan Tuff has it on the far side of the floor for Miami, making just her second appearance for the RedHawks this season. Over on the far side, a little jab up in the air, and the shot comes through. It is made by Riley Neal, another returner for the RedHawks who saw some limited minutes last year. Under a minute to play, and it's 63-43. Aaliyah Pitts on the far side. One hand's over for Chatfield, top of the key. Chatfield back to Pitts, fakes the three, goes down the lane, and runs over the defender. That's an offensive foul, and Miami will get it back as the draw was done by Amber Treader.
I mean, really, Luke, if you look at the numbers by quarters, I mean, the 39-point third quarter for Western Kentucky, quite the outlier is really the other 3 quarters. They've only scored 24 points, so Miami can't be too discouraged. You let a good team get hot at the wrong moment.
That third quarter is all that it took for Western Kentucky in this one. Tough to the near side for Nuria Hurho, the freshman from Barcelona. Back over for Lucretia Edwards, another freshman from British Columbia, and she will run over Pitts on her way to the basket, and she'll get an offensive foul now. And with 24.1 seconds to go, all Western Kentucky has to do is take this across the timeline, and that will wrap up the game, as right now they're still set up, but they do not have to shoot. And it looks like Greg Collins is just instructing his team to dribble this one out, and that will indeed be it. So the clock runs down on this one, and it hits zeros as Western Kentucky, fueled by a 39-point third quarter, comes on the road and beats Miami to improve to 3-1, or 4-1, I should say, on the season as the Hilltoppers will head home happy. A very strong start in the opening 5 games of the year for this Lady Toppers crew. For Miami, their first win still eludes them. Looks like they might have had it after that first half of play where they were leading by a score of 20-12 and really played some strong defense. But, well, we've talked about it already. 75% Western Kentucky was in that third quarter from the field, 15 for 20. That was really all it took in a game as tight as this to pull away.
Well, strike when the iron's hot, the old saying, and when they were hot, they took a record amount of shots in this game, and 20 field goal attempts in the third quarter alone outpaced every other quarter field goal attempts wise, and why not? When you're that hot, you're making your shots, might as well hoist them up, and a historic third quarter was really all it took to take down the RedHawks today.
So we will turn it over now to Andrew Relvas for Will Summers. My name is Luke West Poley. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to stay with us for Game 2 of our doubleheader. Coming up next is Coppin State takes on Eastern Illinois on the men's side. It is a 3:30 tip coming up in 38 minutes between those two teams. We hope you'll be with us then. We also hope you'll be with us tomorrow when Miami is back in action on the men's side. They will take on Eastern Illinois tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, 12:30 pregame, as Will Summers will talk to you then. Thanks so much for listening. We'll toss it over to Andrew Relvas now for our postgame. Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Luke and Will. Miami RedHawks unfortunately fall to Western Kentucky Lady Toppers 63-43 today in what was the first half where they led 20-12. They led 20-12, and that got exploded by a 43-point second half from Western Kentucky. A phenomenal third quarter was really the reason why they won. They had 39 points in that third quarter, 7 for 9 from 3. If you told me a team was going to shoot like that from an abysmal first half where they shot 1 for 18 from 3, I would call you crazy. I would say there's no way that this team could turn it around. But, man, oh, man, the Western Kentucky Lady Toppers, they're a tough group to beat, and they proved it here at Millett Hall. They took down the RedHawks. They won by 20, and they forced a ton of turnovers on the Miami side. 20 turnovers for the RedHawks, 7 from Lard. It was a difficult showing for Miami after, they led by 8 at the half. I thought the energy was going to be there more, but unfortunately the RedHawks, they just seemed to be too tired, too gassed, and the Lady Toppers, we've talked about it all broadcast long, and this is going to be a tough group to beat throughout, and they're definitely the real deal. But overall, it was a very entertaining matchup, especially in the first half. Both sides were going back and forth at it. They were fighting strong. They were not trying to give each other any edge, and it was really that three-point shooting from Faustino, Allen, and Hayes, all those other players on the Western Kentucky side. Just a phenomenal third quarter. That pretty much does it for how they were able to take down the RedHawks. Miami's going to fall to 0-3 overall on the year. Their next game, like Luke said previously, will be on November 27th. So in a little bit of time, they have over a week to prepare versus the Xavier Musketeers. That should be an entertaining matchup. We'll see if the RedHawks can get their first win then. And for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, they're going to improve to 4-1 overall after taking down the Miami RedHawks. They have Bucknell at home on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Should be an entertaining matchup there. Well, that's going to do it here from Millett Hall. My name is Andrew Relvas. So glad you be here with us from the Red Hawk Radio pregame, postgame, and halftime show. And I will see you on our next broadcast versus Coppin State and Eastern Illinois. Should be a fun, entertaining matchup here in Millett Hall. So glad you could be here with us, and we will see you on the next time on Red Hawk Radio. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Thanks so much.